Hi readers, me here. Welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads, and welcome to me almost knocking over a book. Anywho, it is Book Talk Tuesday, and I've actually gone back and forth about posting this today. At first I was going to, and then I was not going to wait for another week or two, but no, I think it's important, and I decided to just roll with it. Today, on Book Talk Tuesday, we're talking presidents. As you know, if you're in the U.S., there are less than now 3 weeks until the presidential election. And by the time this posts, there will be just 2 weeks left. I am talking about this as a woman who has, in my lifetime, always had the right to vote. But in the comments below, I'm going to link a description to a Time article that debunks five myths about the 19th Amendment and women's suffrage. I'm going to just talk a little bit about this before I get to the books, which, yeah, most of it's a haul. So, in this Time article, 5 myths that need to be debunked. This was published in 2020. Myth number 1, the 19th Amendment guaranteed all American women the right to vote. The reality, after the amendment was ratified, states passed other laws that disenfranchised women. It's been a long, hard fight, y'all. Myth number 2, women couldn't vote before the 19th Amendment. The reality was that whether a woman could vote before 1920 depended on where she lived, her race, and her citizenship status. One thing I learned from this that I may have known is that some women were disenfranchised because they married an immigrant. Myth number 3, all women wanted the right to vote. But the reality is, some women opposed the 19th Amendment. Myth number 4, the most important suffragists were white. Reality, women of color played a key role in the suffrage movement, but got left out of the retelling of it. Myth number 5, American feminism began at Seneca Falls, which I'm not sure what happened there, so I probably need to brush up on my history. But the reality is that Seneca Falls started to be seen as a turning point only decades later. Anywho, I do recommend this article. Again, I will publish or post a link to it down in the comments, along with links to each of these books on bookshop.org. Because this is a stressful season anyway, when I was doing my book haul for this and choosing what to read, I ended up going with YA books. They're a little bit lighter, and unplanned, each of the main characters in this is a young woman. So that is why I began with the Time article. Also, I hope it is not enough to disturb you, but I've got Taylor Swift playing in the background. 2 reasons. 1, I love her. 2, she's a strong woman with a voice and a vote. Anywho, so let's start. First of all, I forgot to tell you I've got a big glass of wine, and this may be one of my last big glass of wine posts, because this week on Thursday I get the fake teeth taken off and my permanent crowns put on, and I've got to tell you, I hope it goes well. I'm really nervous about that. I'm always nervous when I go to the dentist, but you know, in addition to election anxiety, now I also have new teeth anxiety. Pray for me. So let's start with All-American Girl by Meg Cabot. There's counting on the back of this too. I have highlighted Meg Cabot's books in the past, and I probably will continue to do so. I like her. Her stuff is light, and it's fun, and it's fresh for the time, and I totally forget when I read, sorry, there's going to be a glare, it's mid-afternoon, late afternoon. So, Meg Cabot's All-American Girl. Top 10 reasons Samantha Madison is in deep trouble. 10. Her big sister is the most popular girl in school. 9. Her little sister is a certified genius. 8. She's in love with her big sister's boyfriend. 7. She got caught selling celebrity portraits in school. 6. And now she's being forced to take art classes. 5. She just saved the President of the United States from an assassination attempt. 4. The whole world thinks she's a hero. 3. Even though Sam knows that she is far, far from being a hero. 2. And now she's been appointed teen ambassador to the UN. And the number one reason Sam's life is over? The president's son might just be in love with her. I read this, again, I don't remember much about it, but Meg Cabot is a fun writer. If she writes anything for adults, and I recently read one by her, don't know where it is, of course. If she writes anything for adults, I'll buy it. If she writes anything new for YA, I'll buy it. Fun times. So the next 3 books are books that I wrote. I looked up, I did a couple of searches, Google searches, and Goodreads searches on political fiction, and so, a lot of it was just so heavy, and I really did not want anything heavy for this post. I wanted something light and fun, and unintentionally, the main characters in all of these were young women. Next up is Running by Natalia Sylvester. Mari's dad is running. Mari is rising. Is it Mari or Mary? Now I don't know. Mariana's father is running for the highest office in the land. Mary knows he'll make a good president, but for her, the campaign is turning into a nightmare. From a disastrous live TV tour of their home to doctored photos that go viral, she's right in the middle of it all, and not in a good way. I'm going to read this right now. Worse, until now, she was unaware of her father's political positions, but as the campaign heats up, Mary finds it harder to ignore not just the news, but the growing student activism at her school. Activism that seems pointedly against her father. She has always known him to be a good, generous man, but maybe he isn't who she thought he was, and confronting him, that's not an option. Or is it? Look forward to reading this, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, as long as it's light. Again, a lot of stress on this. Next up is The Wrong Side of Right by Jenn Marie Thorne. Never heard of this author. I think I had to buy it used. It is copyright 2015. Let me back up a little bit. All American Girl. Published 2002, so over 20 years ago. Running was published copyright 2020. The Wrong Side of Right, I said, what, 2015? Yes, copyright 2015. So I am going to need my glasses for this one as well. This is called a smart romantic debut about finding your family, but losing your path. Kate Quinn's mom died last year, leaving Kate parentless and reeling. So when the unexpected shows up in her living room, Kate must confront a reality she never thought possible. She does have a father. He's a powerful politician, and he's running for U.S. president. Suddenly, Kate's moving in with family she never knew she had, joining a campaign in support of a man she hardly knows, and falling for a rebellious boy who may not have the purest motives. But when her true feelings fly in the face of the campaign's talking points, Kate must decide who she really is. Will she turn to the family she barely knows, the boy she knows but doesn't necessarily trust, or face a third, even scarier option? The last paragraph is not a description, is sort of a description, but set against a backdrop of politics, family, and first love comes a story of personal responsibility, complicated romance, and trying to discover who you are, even as everyone tells you who you should be. This one also looks good. Maybe I'll read this one next. Okay. I left a book out. It's upstairs somewhere and totally just forgot about it. That's Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I liked that, and it read a little bit young though for me. So I've just not read any more Casey McQuiston since then. So this next one is not about the race for... Oh, sorry. I lost my train of thought. Red, White, and Royal Blue, as opposed to any of these three that I've already talked about, I believe it features a female president of the United States, which we haven't had one yet, but all these feature male. This next one's a little bit different. In Jasmine Zumideh Needs a Win, this is about, I believe, a high school presidential election. Let's find out, shall we? Ooh, white print. This is different too, and I like this. It's 1979, set in 1979. So maybe I'll read this one next. This is copyright 2022, so it's relatively recent. Anywho, it's 1979, and Jasmine Zumideh is ready to get the heck out of her Southern California suburb and into her dream school, NYU, where she'll major in journalism and cover New York City's exploding music scene. Which, this is going to be awesome. There's just one teeny problem. Due to a deadline snafu, she maybe said she was senior class president-elect on her application before the election has taken place. But honestly, she's running against Gerald Thomas, a rigid rule follower whose platform includes reinstating a dress code. There's no way she can lose, and she better not, or she'll never get into NYU. This sounds so fun. But then, a real-life international incident turns the election upside down. Iran suddenly dominates the nightly news, and Jasmine's opponent seizes the opportunity to stir up anti-Iranian hysteria at school and turn the electorate against her. Her brother, Ali, is no help. He's become an outspoken advocate for Iran just as she's trying to downplay her heritage. Now, as the white lie she told snowballs into an avalanche, Jasmine is stuck between claiming her heritage or hiding it, standing by her outspoken brother or turning her back on him, and winning the election or abandoning her dreams for good. This is it. This is the one I'm going to read next. Susan Azim Boyer, I've never read anything about her, but she writes young adult, I've never read anything by her, but she writes young adult fiction featuring Iranian-American heroines she never encountered growing up, who make messy, complicated choices that rapidly snowball into avalanches. This is her young adult fiction debut, hails from Nebraska, but grew up in LA before spending several years in San Francisco and the next 20 in Sonoma County. This is it. This is the one I'm reading next, as soon as I finish what I'm reading right now. Yes, she already, on page 1, mentions Chrissie Hynde. So, I'm going to listen to this and then turn on some... I'm going to ask Alexa to play the music as it's mentioned. What's one of my favorite things to do? Have you ever tried that? Love it. Anywho, I can do that because I do have a subscription to Amazon Music. I have a subscription to everything. Anywho, like I said, it is election season in the U.S. I've already voted. My state allows, has an early voting, in-person voting period, and I take advantage of that because it is so convenient. One of my favorite stories to tell is that when I turned 18, which I will not tell you what year that was, I wasn't able to vote that year, although it was an election year, because I was just a tad too young. My birthday is on November 5th, and my grandfather took me to register to vote, and he was so proud. I'm sorry, I might tear up. So proud of that. And I remember him telling me, that it was important to choose a side, but I didn't always have to vote that side. But if I chose one of the sides, then I could vote in the primaries, where if I selected independent, then I could not vote in the primaries. He didn't tell me, or if he did, I didn't remember that you can only vote in that party's primary, but whatever. And because of him, I've always voted. And more recently, I vote in every single election, because not only is the presidential election important, the midterms are important, and your local elections are even more important because they affect you immediately and directly in ways that the midterms and the presidential elections also do, but more at home. Anywho, so when I was in line to vote on the first day of early voting, two people behind me was a man and his son. And his son, this was his first time to vote. And his father, there was a relatively long line. His father talked the entire time until we got close to the, where it was going to be our turn to vote. And he was telling his son about, election process and yada, 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 and what he thinks about this or that. He was not endorsing any candidate, but it was, at first, for the first probably third of the line, it was like the son would respond. And then as we got closer and closer to the end, it was like, I know, Dad, I know, Dad, I know. And then the dad asks, so there's sample ballots taped up on the wall right as you get toward where closer to the end of the line to vote. And the dad goes, do you want me to ask me anything about those things on the wall? And I almost laughed out loud, because at that point I could feel the young man thinking, oh my God, Dad, please stop. And so it was really funny, really kind of heartwarming, because I know the kid was embarrassed, but the dad was trying to teach his son how important elections are, and it was very sweet. Anywho, that is it for me. If you are a U.S. citizen and if you are a U.S. citizen and are a registered voter, please go out and vote in the November 5th election. If you, in some states, in North Carolina, during early voting in person, you can register at the polling place. So that is an option. Please look up your own state's rules. That is it for me. I will probably repost this a couple more times on Instagram or Facebook before the election, because voting is a right. It is not a right everyone has always had, and it is our civic duty. Happy reading!